As part of the League of Legends partner program, I have been given some codes for the exclusive Blood Moon Sivir Green Chroma. If you would like a chance to win one of these codes, all you have to do is leave a like on this video, drop a comment down below saying anything whatsoever, doesn't have to be a specific keyword or anything, and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. This code will unlock the Champion Sivir if you don't own her already. It'll also unlock the Blood Moon skin, as well as the exclusive Green Chroma, which you can only get via the League of Legends partner program. This is a chroma that you cannot buy in the store. It is not available in the League of Legends client, so this is going to be your only chance of getting it. I'll also be giving away a few codes on stream as well as on my Twitter, so be sure to check the links in the description to increase your chances of winning one of these codes. Best of luck, and now let's get into the video. What's going on, Nasteey Nation? My name is Trevor, you all know me as Nasteey, and in today's video I'll be going over every single aspect of the champion Alistar. This guide is going to include skill order, build paths, counter picks, combos, and many more things, and in case you're unaware, I've already made guides for champions such as Rakan, Nami, and Thresh, as well as many more champions, but if there's another champion you'd like to see me cover on this channel, then feel free to let me know by dropping a comment down below. Also, be sure to give me a follow over on Twitch and Twitter, check out the merchandise store, join the Discord, check out my Patreon, and subscribe to my second channel in order to get a sneak peek of my life away from gaming. Links to all of those will be down in the description. And finally, don't forget to leave a like if you do go on to enjoy the video, but without further ado, let's get into it. Alistar has been a very popular and powerful champion for quite a few years now due to his tankiness, playmaking potential, and reliability. He's a very well-rounded champion capable of engaging, roaming, and being strong both early and late game, making him one of the most difficult supports to play against. It's also because of these characteristics that he is one of the strongest picks in the competitive scene, while still having a good amount of carry potential in solo queue. Overall, Alistar is a great champion to look to pick up because once practiced, his well-rounded kit and versatility makes him perfect for carrying both competitive and solo queue games. Alistar's passive is Triumphant Roar. Alistar gains stacks towards his passive every time a nearby unit dies, or he is able to inflict crowd control on an enemy. Once he has reached 7 stacks, he will release a roar that heals nearby allies. This is not something that you necessarily have to think about utilizing too much, and rather something that'll just happen naturally throughout your game. Alistar's Q is Pulverize. When casted, Alistar smashes his fist into the ground, briefly knocking up all enemies within a short radius. This ability can be difficult to land at times, but when combined with his W properly, can be very reliable. Alistar's W is Headbutt. As many of you guys may have guessed from the name of the ability, casting this on an enemy does in fact headbutt them away, knocking them back in the process. Casting W and Q simultaneously will allow you to charge forward and knock up your enemies, but I'll go more in depth on Alistar's combos later on in the video. Alistar's E is Trample. When activated, Alistar will begin to trample any enemies around him. Trampling an enemy over a short period of time will charge up a bar beneath the character. Once the bar is fully charged, Alistar's next auto attack will stun the enemy. It might sound a little complicated, but it's actually fairly easy to use once you do get a hold of it. I'd recommend when you are charging up your stun that you do avoid auto attacking in the process. Auto attacking will slow you down and create a gap between you and your enemy, so instead it's wiser to simply walk alongside your enemy until the bar is completely filled and then use your auto attack. Alistar's R is Unbreakable Will. Activating this ability will increase Alistar's defensive stats for a brief period, as well as release him from any crowd control effects. This ability is very useful as it does allow Alistar to survive significantly longer after initiating a fight. Do keep in mind that although activating this ability does in fact free you from crowd control, that doesn't necessarily mean that you should only use it for that purpose. Of course, that would be more ideal, but sometimes using the ability just for the sake of gaining defensive stats is perfectly fine as well. The max order that you will see in about 99% of all games played on Alistar is Q max first, W max second, and E max third, with the point in your ultimate whenever possible. This is the standard max order and you really won't see too many other variations. However, one variation that I have seen includes putting a second point in E before maxing W, which is something I learned from former Team Liquid support player Olay, but even that doesn't differ all too much from the standard max order that I previously mentioned. Either choice is perfectly fine in my opinion, so feel free to test out this minor change and see which one is right for you. My recommended build for Alistar begins with purchasing Relic Shield and upgrading that one time. Following that upgrade, you will want to put a large emphasis on buying mobility boots, given the sooner that you are able to purchase boots, the sooner you will have the opportunity to then roam around and have an impact elsewhere on the map. And then of course after Mobies you can go back and finish upgrading the support item. The third item in the build will vary depending on the game situation. If you need armor you will buy Knight's Vow, if you need MR you will buy Zeke's, and if you are in desperate need of either defensive stat and you just want to have more playmaking potential, then you could buy Righteous Glory. Regardless of which item you choose, follow that up with a locket for additional armor, magic resist, and an AoE shield that will only further enhance Alistar's team fighting power. After lock it, you can pick up Redemption, considering you should be tanky enough at this stage in the game to afford an item that doesn't necessarily revolve around defensive stats and instead aids other parts of Alistar's kit. And finally, I'd recommend you finish off the build with one of the 3 items that I mentioned earlier, once again depending on the defensive stat that you may or may not need at this stage of the game. Next up, let's talk about counter picks and in what situations you should be picking Alistar. Alistar tends to struggle against mage and utility supports. Alistar does have a heal within his passive, but that isn't nearly enough sustain to deal with incoming poke from mage supports. And although Alistar has potential to win in all-in fights against these type of champions, chances are he will get poked down too much in the lane phase to ever have an opening to safely all in. This includes champions such as Brand and Zyra. The other matchup that Alistar struggles with is utility supports. Utility supports are champions who tend to have a lot of heals, shields, slows, or stuns that make it very difficult for Alistar to engage. This includes champions such as Rakan and Taric. As for matchups that are in favor of Alistar, matchups against hard engage and caster supports tend to go best. Hard engage supports can easily be denied by Alistar either by counter engaging or using his knockup and knockback for the sake of peeling and disengaging. This includes champions such as Thresh and Leona. Caster supports, on the other hand, lack the damage to outpoke Alistar, and they also lack the peel to prevent Alistar's engage, making a very favorable matchup. This includes champions such as Soraka and Nami. The main Alistar combos that you need to understand are WQE, QWE, W delay QE, flash QWE, and W flash QE. The WQE combo is the standard combo. This is just going to be your standard knockup and then following that up with a stun from your E. The QWE combo is also a standard combo, but this can only be used if you are within a short range of your enemy. You use this combo for the sake of knocking the enemy further back away from their tower. The W delay QE combo can only be used if you are knocking the enemy into terrain, but it is very impactful because it does get off a full CC chain. The flash QWE combo is the exact same thing as the standard short range combo that I mentioned earlier. However, you are going to be gap closing with your flash, then knocking them up and then knocking them back into your team. This is really good when it comes to catching your opponents off guard and knocking them back into your team. And finally, the W flash QE combo is a hidden OP mechanic that allows Alistar to have 2 knockups if you do time it correctly. You can use this combo really efficiently in teamfights as a way to knock up multiple enemies. Now for the lane phase, in order to have an impact during the lane phase as Alistar, you'll have to focus on playing around his power spikes. Alistar's biggest power spikes in the early game are at level 2, 3, and 6, but more on that in just a second. At level 1, you'll start the game with a point in Q and be pretty useless. You most likely won't find an opportunity to use it, but you'll just have it just in case the enemy happens to misposition and you find yourself in range for a knockup. Once you reach level 2, however, you'll be at your first power spike, and then you can begin to look for combos now that you have a point in W. With this combo available now, you have a lot of kill potential, but even then you have to be patient still. Start playing further up in the lane, controlling vision in the bushes, and look for an opportunity to go in at the right time. If you do find an opportunity to engage, then go for it, and if you don't find an opportunity, that is perfectly fine as well. There's no need to force anything too hard at level 2, considering at level 3 you'll have another power spike. Once you're level 3 and have a point in your E, your kill potential will be even higher now, considering you now have both an engage, knockup, and stun available. Continue to play up in the lane at this time, control vision in both the bushes and the river, and look to fight with the enemy if possible. You can look to punish your enemy once again after achieving level 6, giving you are now much more likely to survive all-ins with the help of your ultimate. Best case scenario, if you do play the lane phase properly and position properly, you'll be able to pick up a few early game kills just by catching out your opponent if they happen to step too close to you, and worst case scenario, if they get too scared of your kill potential, they'll back up and you could just settle for some free CS and experience. Next up, let's talk about roaming. Roaming is one of Alistar's strongest qualities, so it is very important that you not only put a large emphasis on roaming, but also you understand the correct way to go about with roaming as Alistar. The best approach to successfully execute a roam as Alistar is going to be by approaching the enemy from behind. By doing so, you'll hopefully get the opportunity to layer your CC by first casting to knock the enemy back towards your tower before walking up and knocking up the enemy after a short delay. By doing so, you are getting a full CC chain off while also pushing the enemy further away from their tower, which more times than not should be enough to pick up a kill, if not a burned flash. If you aren't, however, able to properly get behind the enemy to knock them back, then you can certainly settle for a standard combo and potentially pick up a kill that way. And finally, the last aspect of Alistar that I'll go over is his team fighting in the late game. Alistar is a very flexible champion in the sense that his abilities can be very impactful whether you use them for the sake of peeling or engaging. As I mentioned earlier, in the lane phase, you have the option to play aggressive and look to combo the enemy, or have more of a passive approach, focusing more on hanging back with your ADC and helping to peel. When it comes to team fighting though, engaging should always be your main priority and peeling should come secondary. The main goal is to combo at least one enemy carry, and hopefully a couple other enemies as well. To put things simply, this is how you should prioritize using your combo. First priority is going to be using your combo on 2 enemy carries. Second is going to be 1 enemy carry within a group of enemies, then 1 enemy carry, a group of enemies that doesn't include a carry, and worst case scenario, your combo only hits 1 enemy, and that isn't a carry. In these team fights, it is really vital that you are being patient and you are waiting for the right opportunity to engage on one of the higher priority targets previously listed. If executed correctly, you should find yourself having quite a bit of success and winning a good amount of games by single-handedly carrying team fights for your team. Alright ladies and gentlemen, well that is however going to complete this Alistar Challenger Champion Guide. I put a lot of time, effort, and research into making this guide, so if you did find this helpful, or if you learned something new, please consider dropping a like, commenting down below, or subscribing to help the channel grow. Once again, be sure to check out all my social media using the links in the description if you haven't done so already, as that is also greatly appreciated. Anyways, I would like to thank each and every one of you who did stay to the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.